Hey everyone. So today is the day for us to talk about databasing. And for a lot of agents, when they hear that word, they're like, oh gosh, no, databasing. I hear my brokers say it all the time, or I hear my team lead say it all the time. Is your database up to date? And it can be really frustrating if you don't have a clean database. And a lot of the times, we'll wind up reading a good book by maybe a Gary Keller or even a Gary Vaynerchuk. And it's all about databasing. And they're saying, do this in your database and reach out to your database in this way and maintain that database. And you're sitting there going, I just don't even have enough people to add to my database. This doesn't make sense for me. And so today, what we want to do is we want to get right back down to the very bare bone basics. We want to get back down to what makes databasing so absolutely important for your business. And so I've created what I call the three principles of databasing. And the reason that I want you to understand these principles is so that when we actually start working in our database, when we actually start creating some plans and knowing how to follow up with people and how to work that database, we need to understand why we're doing it. So let's take a second here and let's look at what the three principles of databasing are. Now, you should have this handout. If you don't have this handout, ask for your RSP to provide it for you. So here we go. Principle number one, contact information is equal to closings. That's right. The more contact information you have, you're going to automatically have more closings. Now, some of you may be saying, well, that's not true. I have a lot of people's contact information, but not in a database. Having it in your phone is not the same as having it in a systematic database. So when I say contact information, I don't just mean having someone's information. I mean organizing it all into one location where it's going to make sense for you. And remember, why do we need contact information? Well, you can't contact people whose information you don't have. And if you want to do business with someone, you inevitably have to contact them. So that's a major problem if you don't have at least some form of contact information. So what do we want to shoot for? Well, we shoot for the big four. So there's four of them here. Name, number, of course, that's phone number, address, that's an actual physical mailing address, and an email address. Now, we want all four. Some people may only be willing to provide you, for example, with their phone number or their address, or maybe only their email address. But at a minimum of those four, you have to have two of them to be able to actually make it work. So you need their name and at least one other piece of information. So make sure you're always asking for that. Now, when one of the big four is missing, you want to always contact that person. And when you get to the end of the contact, you want to request to update their missing information. So when you're doing this, you're prospecting, you're calling, and you realize, oh man, I'm missing a phone number, I'm missing an email address, or their address, I don't know if it's up to date anymore. You get to the end of that phone call and you say, hey, before I let you go, I want to make sure that the contact information I have for you is correct. Are you still at? And if you have one, you tell them the address. And if you don't have their address, then you want to jump into saying, oh, actually, I don't have a good mailing address for you. You know, I send out really important stuff from time to time. What's the best mailing address for you? You use that presumptive statement of, I know you're going to provide me with this information. I just don't seem to have it in my database. So make sure that you're really using that information, that you're collecting all of it, because having that information available is literally equal to the amount of closings you have. If you look for the top producing agents and you ask them how many people are in your database, you're going to find that top producers have a lot more people in their database than agents that are maybe producing in the mid-range or maybe even low producers. So let's look at principle number two. And that's making contact is greater than a great contact plan. And I hear this all the time. I'll ask someone, hey, is your database up to date? And whenever their database is not up to date, they'll immediately come back at me with, oh, well, I don't have my whole database together, but I am running a 4 by 4, an 8 by 8, or a 12 by 12, or some type of special campaign. And what we need to remember is that being consistent is way more important than actually having a great plan for how you're going to contact someone. So even if you're just making sure to contact them on a regular basis by telephone, being sure that you're contacting them on a regular basis through email, but being consistent in contacting them will make a bigger difference for you than actually having a great plan. And not only that, but you need to have reminders to know when's the next time that you'll actually be contacting someone. So if you don't have any reminders set up, then you are at a disadvantage. You need to know when is the next time that I should be contacting them. Now, if you're just brand new, we want to stick to these principles. We want to stick to making contact is greater than a great action plan or a great contact plan. But if you've been in the business for a while, your database is up to date, then you can start looking at some of the more complicated things like 8 by 8s, 12 by 12s, 4 by 4s, all these different ways of contacting people. The things that people like Gary Keller wrote into The Millionaire Real Estate Agent that make sense and they work. They just don't work when we're first getting started. They're overwhelming. And remember, a great contact is more important than a great contact plan. The only thing worse, the only thing worse than a worthless plan is a great plan that was never executed. And I really want you to internalize that and realize you not having consistency is a bigger problem than you having a great plan. Because if you don't actually do anything with that plan, it is absolutely worthless. Now, principle number 3, contact that is not noted is equal to contact not made. You may as well have not even contacted the person if you're not going to keep notes on what it is that you talked about. When you don't follow up on the things that you said that you're going to do, you destroy your credibility with your clients. They can no longer trust you. They can no longer believe you. And all of a sudden, you're no longer the agent that they want to utilize. So you have to make sure that you're taking down notes so you can remember to actually do those things. Now, other reasons why you would take good notes. Well, one, clients are really impressed when you take good notes. And they're really impressed that you can remember the small things, the little things that were mentioned in conversation. So I encourage you, the more detail, the better the note will be. And when you create notes, it prevents forgetfulness. And when you're not forgetful, you'll be able to create stronger relationships with people. And remember, sales is a relationship game. The better you are at building them will show directly in your income. So I want you to think about this. And here in a second, I want you to practice. I want you to go into your sync account and I want you to look at anyone you have. And if you don't have anyone, pick one person from your phone to add to your database. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to walk through the databasing checklist. One, do we have all of their contact info? Now, we may not have it all right now, but do we at least have name, phone number, name, email, or name, address, things that we can use to reach out to that person? And if we don't have all their contact info, we need to be reaching out to them to get that contact info. Second thing we want to check, when is my next reminder for that contact? When is the next time that I am actually going to get in touch with that contact? So it's not so important that I just got in touch with them, but I also need to know when in the future am I going to get in touch with them. Then we want to look at notes added. I talked to them. Now I got to take some notes. I need to type those into my computer. I need to make sure the notes in, or I need to make sure the notes saved. And if I work together with other people on my team, I need to make sure that I notify them so that they're aware of what's going on with my file. Last, did I update the status of my lead? So in my CRM, is my status of my lead fully updated? And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you a test lead, and we're going to look at it and we're going to say, okay, does this test lead have everything that they need? Now, you'll notice here I've already searched for tests, and you see there's all these test leads in here. We've got test, and you can create a test lead yourself if you just want to practice. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up this one here that I saw that says Gibran test. So we're going to look at this lead, Gibran test. And I want to expand this so I can see the whole thing. Now you see Gibran test, he registered in our database, he looked at some houses, he created a search, and now he's in the system and he's viewed 2 properties. We can learn a lot about him. And I've got a phone number already in here for him. So if you don't have a phone number, you just go to the info section and you can add a phone number right here. You click on phone number, you click that little button, and you can change it. Or maybe I know that Gibran's information is incorrect and I want to make sure that it is correct. So you can also go in there and update that phone number. I can come here and I can say, oh no, actually Gibran's information is 832-790-255555. And then I can say, okay, good. When I click on something else, that will automatically save in there. And as long as it doesn't conflict with somebody else, and if it does, it'll let me know, it'll save. I can also update the email address and their address. Now, once I have that information, or on this case, I don't, I would want to reach out to him and I'd want to say, hey, Gibran, I actually don't have your address or a good email address. Obviously, gibrantest@testing.com doesn't look like a legit email address. Let me get that information updated. But at a minimum, I have his phone number. I can reach out to him now. Second thing I want to do, I want to make sure there's notes in here. So I'm going to add in here a note, and I'm going to say I called Gibran. I called Gibran, and I asked him to update his contact information. He told me that he wasn't interested at this time. I'm going to save it. And the last thing that I want to do is I want to go here to the reminders section, because even though Gibran told me that he's not interested, I still want to add a reminder, and I want to say, well, I'm going to send Gibran an email, and I'm going to name this one following up email. I want to send it to follow up to update the contact info. Follow up to update the contact info. There we go. And I'm going to set this for 2 weeks from now. I'm going to call him back in 2 weeks. It's a little bit of a better time. I'm going to set it for 10 a.m. or 8 a.m. That's a better time for me. That's when I normally do my prospecting. So I'll come in here. I'll set it for 8 a.m. and I'll say, notify me on 8 a.m. on that date that I need to follow up with an email to Gibran. And I'll save that. And now it'll save in here. And when it notifies me, all I need to do is come in here and click Mark as completed. Now, we've got contact info. We've got notes. We have a reminder set. The last thing I need to do is right here on the left-hand side where it says new lead. Gibran is not a new lead. I've already talked to him. I've already offered to update his contact information. So what I want to do is I want to go down here to contact it. I haven't set an appointment. I'm not ready to go on showings with him, but I have contacted him, and he's going to be at the contacted stage. Now, I hope that was very helpful for you. What I want you to do is take about the next 15 minutes to work on at least fixing 1 or 2 leads in your database. And if you say, I don't have anyone to add to my database, at a minimum, try with the test lead. But I challenge you to get out your phone and find 1 lead in there, 1 person, a family member, a friend, heck, your mom or your dad even, but add them into your database and put all of this information, add notes, and update the contact stage. And always remember to set a reminder. I hope that you've really enjoyed this video. We're going to be diving deep in the databases in the month of August, because the database is where the money's at. You want to make money, you have to be great at databasing. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you next time.